Yep. Yep, we can stand by.
Trailer, go down there for now. Get you out the close ones when they're up. We're already here. We're at Westward Restaurant. Guys, we need to go somewhere else.
What kind of vehicle is, oh, never mind.
Standby, but again, all of that is just speculation, and we really, but we're not seeing anybody being treated at this moment, and we're not sure if anyone's been transported to the hospital.
Standby. I think they're going to toss back to me.
Out earlier that they were en route to your location, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're at the 7300 block of Highway 90.
Yes.
And so
Yes, we are
they
here
say
on
they're
Highway 90.
en route to you, but we just don't know what time.
Unfortunately, they haven't given us a time yet. I will tell you that all the media is here waiting, and I will say there was an officer that just pulled up, but as far as the PIO or the chief, we have not seen them yet, so we really can't say how soon. I think y'all were mentioning this earlier when they send out those alerts. It could be a few minutes, it could be 30 minutes, so we're really just on standby hoping to gain more information. But like I mentioned earlier, this scene is definitely not dying down, so this is still very active, which may be the reason why they're not necessarily able to give us too much information right now, because it seems like whatever is happening is unfolding as we speak.
Megan, can you describe the businesses that are nearby just to give context to our viewers? We know that this is the southwest side. It's north of Lackland Air Force Base. What businesses are nearby you to give our viewers some context?
Yeah, so you see the Federal Credit Union is behind me, and that's where they have a stage security service. And then just over to my right is a automotive building, and this is where there's actually a lot of bystanders standing out and just trying to kind of figure out what's going on. They don't really know much information, but of course they're curious like a lot of people. So it's a little bit more of a, you see a lot of automotive shops, not any really big, I will say where the scene was earlier, or where the other scenes were when we were driving around, maybe closer to westward, there was shopping centers, there was a Wendy's. That area had a lot more activity than this area as far as businesses. And that's when there was really crowds of people, a lot of people in their car just kind of waiting, because obviously a lot of them were not able to get through to their neighborhoods, waiting and just curious as to what's happening, and really just concerned, obviously. But here it is a little bit less busy, I will say, just considering where we're right off the feeder road.
All right, thank you, Megan. And unrelated, but we've just been told the former President Donald Trump has just turned himself in at the Fulton County courthouse there. And so that is going on with former President Trump. But of course, we are following this story where one, possibly two police officers have been shot on the southwest side. Hundreds of police officers there. We believe this all began about 5:15 this afternoon at the 500 block of Floyd, and that's where Hannah Teeting is right now with a car with their windows have been shot out. Hannah?
Yeah, Deb, we were able to get a little bit closer to the car so we can give you a closer look. So we're actually seeing that it's a dark blue four-door, some type of sedan, and it looks like it was just shot out through the back. Now, it looks like obviously the driver's door is open. Possibly someone fled, but we don't know that. We're still waiting for answers from police at this time. But you can see it looks like this vehicle might have been parked here, or it could have tried to evade law enforcement officers. But that door is open. open and the back is completely shot out. Now we also have officers here who are monitoring the area. What's interesting though is they're not talking to witnesses right now from where we can see in this direct line of sight. So these officers back here that are standing around, we don't know if they did speak with witnesses or what exactly transpired here, but we are still waiting to learn a lot of information. But it is very active, a very residential area. So we've got a lot of homes in this area. It's quiet. So it's just, you know, having all of this crime tape in the area seems very out of place. All of these officers, we saw another one just pulling up right now. So we have more officers coming out to the scene as we're waiting to learn more about what happened. I haven't seen anybody taking pictures, any crime scene photos, but again, that might have happened already before we pulled up. But this vehicle right here, we're getting a very close look at it. The entire back of it shot out, and interestingly, the driver's door is open. So we don't know exactly what that means, but we do know that this is probably central to the investigation as it is in the middle of this crime scene tape here. Right now, we are on the corner of Floyd and Marjorie, and I have been checking SAPD's tweets to see if they're going to put out any more information, but right now they still just have that warning, please avoid the areas of the 100 Oriental Ave, and then of course where Megan is over at Westward Drive. So police are still asking people avoid this area. A lot of things that we've noticed since we've come out here, though, there's a lot of curious residents in the area. They've come out of their homes, and I did ask two people who were out here if they saw anything, if they heard anything, but they actually told me that they just drove up to the area to see what was going on, and they were looking for information themselves. So it is drawing a crowd of curious people as we see more officers, like I said, pulling up and investigating what happened here as we wait for more information on what exactly transpired.
Hannah, thank you.
Again,
Ray, can we
one quick question for Hannah. Hannah, does it look like the area is simply just cordoned off? It kind of looks, as Gene is panning back and forth, that officers really aren't quote unquote investigating as much as they are just cordoning off the area. Is that your assessment?
Right, and that's to your point. It does seem as absolutely. It seems like they're preserving a crime scene. So usually, you know, after we come to a crime scene, we're seeing officers for several hours actively talking to witnesses and, you know, taking pictures like you said. And right now, we're not seeing that. We're seeing officers, like you said, it seems like they're trying to preserve the crime scene. And so that might mean something. But again, right now we're seeing a tow truck, it looks like, just pulled up. Gene just pointed this out. So it appears that that part of the investigation might be wrapping up. If they do bring in this tow truck and they take this tow truck, this vehicle that is, into evidence, they might already be wrapping up their investigation at this area. So like you said, Isis, it looks like they are just preserving the crime scene, but they might have already got what they needed from this area, and we're just trying to make sure that nothing contaminates it, people don't come past this tape. It's a large area, but again, we're not seeing officers at this moment speaking with witnesses, and it looks like that tow truck is going to be let in here any moment now. So we can watch as that pulls in and takes this vehicle in for evidence. So some movement out here on the scene right now, and I'm glad that you brought that up as we see this tow truck pull up and take this vehicle in.
You know, Hannah, it really is amazing that you can be that close to that vehicle. Usually police keep the media back at least a block. And right there where apparently this whole thing began at about 5:15 this afternoon, shots fired. We don't know how many people were involved. We have been told at least one police officer was shot. Can we pull up the map here for a moment and just let people see the extent of this crime scene area? It's all playing out along Highway 90 here, right near Lackland. Hannah TD is in the 500 block of Floyd. That is on the right side of your screen. Heavy police presence over on the left-hand side at Westward, where an apartment complex, possibly where the suspect is located. Okay, let's go back out live to Hannah and see what's going on with the tow truck and the car.
And that appears to be, Hannah, a
Walked
Mitsubishi.
over and spoke to other officers. Yes. So it appears to be a Mitsubishi. It looks like a dark blue Mitsubishi four-door, completely shot out in the back. This is the vehicle that police are clearly going to be taking in for evidence. It's sort of the center of this investigation here. But like you said, Deb, it's very interesting that we're able to get such a close look at this scene, because usually we do have the tape a little bit further back, and that just could be possibly because of this area, the residential area, the way it's mapped out. But a very close look here at what is at the center, it seems, of this particular investigation. And so we have that tow truck that has been let in. We saw the tape come down. It seems that he's waiting for something at this point. Officers walking around and having conversations out here, but I'm expecting, oh, and now we're seeing it move. So we're expecting this to be loaded up here quite quickly. And what's interesting is usually during an investigation, it takes possibly several hours before vehicles are taken in for evidence, but this would have happened within a couple hours if this vehicle is taken in the next few minutes. And we're now seeing it leave. So the vehicle has now left. We're not sure if it's going to be coming back, but the tape is down, and it appears that tow truck has left, and now that road is no longer blocked off. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that to see if officers put the tape back up and block off that street, if they bring another tow truck around. But clearly there was some kind of change there as the tow truck pulled away shortly after being let inside.
And Hannah, in addition to that window being... Hannah, in addition to the window being shot out there, it looks like the bumper took a big blast from some heavy-duty gun. At first I thought maybe it had been rammed, but the bumper has what looks like a bullet hole. Yeah, big blast in the bumper there.
Well, yes, it's hard to tell. I'll actually have Jean kind of zoom into that bumper if you wouldn't mind, Jean. Thank you. It's hard to tell if that maybe is just if it's a dent, or if it is, like you said, some kind of bullet hole, or if it happened during this incident or a separate incident. But I was looking at that and trying to figure out if it might be connected to this particular scene out here, or if it's something separate. But it is, while we're close, we're not close enough to tell if there's a bullet hole in that bumper. All I know, though, is that the glass is shattered out, and it appears that the glass is shattered onto the other side. So I'm not seeing a lot of broken glass on this side. And actually, when I first looked at this car, I was wondering if the driver's door was shot out as well, because there's no glass that we can see. Now, that might just be because the window was rolled down, but the only part that I can tell for sure has been shot out is on the back of that vehicle. And so it's hard to tell if possibly someone shot behind it, if there was some kind of gunfire exchange. But right now, as we're looking very, very close, it looks like the bullets might have ripped through that back seat. So Jean was able to get a really close look here, and what you're looking at right now is what appears to be what was left from the bullets as it sliced through the back seat of the middle back seat of this car. And it almost seems like gunfire was exchanged. Possibly the driver might have shot out the back, or possibly police might have shot towards this vehicle. But we just know that, this is where the gunfire happened, right here. This area right now that we're looking at, just very intense footage that Jean was able to get because we are so close to the scene right now.
That is incredible video, and such detail that you just pointed out, Hannah. Thank you so much for that report. We don't have a whole lot of updates other than that the Chief William McManus is now on scene at the second crime scene, which is where Megan Lena is. We understand that he will brief the media here soon, but that he himself is gathering information on what has transpired there. So we can confirm that Police Chief William McManus is there on scene.
And our reporter Andrew Moore is at BAMC, and the public information officer for the police department has just appeared there. He is briefing Andrew right now. So we are about to get an update from Andrew Moore at BAMC involving the possible officer who was shot. And also we are waiting to hear from Police Chief William McManus, who has shown up to the scene there where Megan Rainier is waiting.
Let's go live now, if we can, to Megan. Megan, we just heard that Police Chief William McManus is on scene. Can you confirm that, and have you learned anything more?
I can't confirm, I don't see him right now, but what we're being told from our sources is that he's being briefed. So it's very much so that he could be in one of these vehicles right now just talking with his sergeant, or still a little bit of ways. I don't see him from where I'm standing, but he could very much so be around the corner, and again is being briefed by a sergeant before he comes out here to give us, of course, that information. Just something I wanted to mention, and we don't know what this necessarily means, but a hostage negotiation team vehicle did drive up earlier, and it almost seemed as if it was leaving this scene. It could very much be going around to a different portion of this area. Again, that's information we don't know. That could be, if it is leaving the scene, an indication that this may be wrapping up soon, but of course I can't confirm that, but we did see that large vehicle, which at least tells me that it's either on the scene or was on the scene, which again, a hostage negotiation vehicle for SAPD. So that is something that we did see here in the last 10 or so minutes, but again, much has stayed the same, still very active, still being pushed back, and just really hoping to learn more in the next few minutes.
Megan, we are just getting word 2 officers, we are getting confirmation, have been shot. Let's go live to Andrew Moore at BAMC, where he's been talking with police. Andrew.
Yes, I'm at BAMC right here, and we've seen several police vehicles that are close to BAMC. We've seen 1 or 2 that have gone in the gate. I was just able to speak to the police union president, Danny Diaz. He said that he is able to tell me at this time there is 1 officer here at BAMC. There is another officer at University Hospital. He doesn't have any more information as of yet to what their identities are, but we do know in fact that there are 2 officers at each of these locations. I don't see any more police going in right now, but we did see police closer to the hospital a little bit earlier as we got here, and we're still working to see if we can get anybody else to show up or have any more information. But that is what we have for you so far. There are 2 officers, 1 at each hospital, BAMC, and at University Hospital.
To give you any idea of the condition of the 2 officers?
No, he wasn't able to tell me anything about if they were injured, to what extent they were injured. He is on his way to one of those locations. He hopes to find out more. His phone is ringing quite a bit.
That confirms the initial reports that we've been reporting throughout the evening, reports that up to 2 officers were shot at these scenes on the southwest side. And again, as you heard Andrew Moore report, their police union president Danny Diaz confirming that 2 officers have been shot. 1 of them was taken to University Hospital, the other taken to BAMC, which is where you just saw Andrew Moore. Let's go live now back out to Hannah Tita, who's on the 500 block of Floyd. And Hannah, I understand you learned some new information.
Yeah, so just by looking at the front of this vehicle, this is I'll tell you the evidence first. We saw that the front of the vehicle that you see police are now going up to has glass in the front windshield. So it's not shot out through the front, just the back. And this is purely speculation, but if somebody were to shoot through a vehicle through the back, you would imagine that the bullets would pierce through the front windshield, but we are seeing that this front windshield is entirely intact. So we're not sure what that means. There's a possibility that possibly someone shot through the vehicle out towards the back here, but we're seeing already investigators gathering around this vehicle. So there's more action happening right now than we've seen over the last 20 minutes or so. So that is the information that I found interesting. If this is an area that a car chase, for example, came to an end, possibly there was some kind of gunfire exchange, but interesting to note, the front windshield completely intact. So all we know right now is that the back windshield is shot out. And so that could mean that somebody shot from inside the vehicle out. But again, that is just speculation. We just know that the front windshield is there and the back is not. And right now we have officers, it looks like they're taking some, they have some notes in their hands, some files. They're walking around right now, having some conversations. It's unclear what they're saying from this distance, but we're now seeing some kind of movement happening with this vehicle. And like I said earlier, we saw that a tow truck was trying to come through, the tape was dropped, and then it left, and the tape is now back up. And so it's unclear if this vehicle will be taken away anytime soon. soon, but we are seeing several investigators here and now taking a look at this vehicle that is at the center of the investigation here off of Floyd and Marjorie. So we're seeing something is going on right now with his vehicles, and that might mean that more investigation needs to be done, or possibly they're trying to figure out how to take it away for evidence. But something is happening here where we have more officers around the vehicle than we've seen since we got here. Speaking about this car, which again is at the center of whatever happened today.
All right, it has been quite the evening. For those of you just joining us, let's recap what we have learned so far. We've unpacked a lot of new information just within the past 5 to 10 minutes. The video that you're looking at right now was taken earlier today, and that was from the scene of Westward Drive and West Rock Drive. As you can see, a large amount of police vehicles on that scene. The live shot that we just showed you with Hannah Tita is on the 500 block of Floyd and South Brazos, where, as you can see, a Mitsubishi Lancer appears to have just been destroyed in this shooting. We still don't know the context of that yet, but we can confirm that 2 police officers were shot in this incident this afternoon. You heard Andrew Moore report that Police Union President Danny Diaz has confirmed that those 2 officers were shot. One of them was taken to University Hospital. The other one was taken to BAMC. At this point, we don't yet know their condition or how dire the situation is for those officers. We also understand that San Antonio Police Chief William McManus has just arrived at one of those scenes. We were told about an hour ago by SAPD that a PIO would be en route to those locations, but we have yet to get a briefing, an official briefing from SAPD.
Right, the first official word we've heard is from the police union president, Danny Diaz, who confirmed to us that 2 officers had been shot. There are 2 crime scenes, one where Hannah Tita has been reporting to us live in the 500 block of Floyd, where the apparently shots were fired. That may be where these 2 officers were injured. And then we've seen a very heavy police presence along Highway 90 at Westward, the 2600 block there at an apartment complex where we believe the suspect may be hiding. No word on whether he's been taken into custody. I don't know. Do we have a live shot of that area right now? We've had Chopper 5 in the air covering these. Okay, we are waiting for the chopper to get over that area right now. And we are waiting for Police Chief William McManus. We're waiting for a briefing from him. We are told that he is on scene where Megan Reyna is waiting, the media staging area in the 7300 block of Highway 90, very close to the Westward Road location. And we are just waiting for Chief McManus to brief us.
And again, they are asking, the SAPD is asking the public to avoid these 2 areas. They're up on your screen. One of them, again, happening at Westward Drive and West Rock Drive. The other one happening at the 500 block of Floyd, near the 100 block of Oriental, which is where the call initially came out to. So for those of you watching, those of you at home headed to these areas, again, SAPD is asking that you please avoid these areas where they're undergoing that investigation right now. Again, for those of you just joining us, confirming now that the 2 officers with the San Antonio Police Department have been shot in an incident today off the 500 block of Floyd. One of those officers taken to University Hospital, the other officer taken to BAMC. Their conditions at this hour are not yet known.
And we are waiting for Police Chief William McManus to give us a briefing. Right now, we are going to return you to programming, but as soon as the police chief makes an appearance, we will bring it to you live.
this afternoon, we received a tip that a wanted person was at a specific location in another part of the city. So we put together a very dangerous person. We put together a plan. We responded to that area, set up. The individual left the apartment, and at some point shortly thereafter, the individual left the apartment. He had a long gun with him. He got into a vehicle occupied by another person who was driving. As they were leaving the scene, they saw a carload of officers behind them, and the person that we were looking for, who was riding passenger, started shooting at the car. One of the officers in the car was hit. The suspect and his driver passenger continued on. At some point thereafter, they carjacked another vehicle and fled in that to the Westwood Apartments behind us. At that point, we were still behind him. He fired at another officer, hit him multiple times. Both of those officers were transported to local hospitals with serious injuries. The individual that we're looking for went into the apartments, and we believe that we know where he is. We've got a perimeter set up, and we will work to bring him out at some point this evening. So that's high level right now. Everything's kind of fuzzy right now as to exactly what happened, but they're the basic facts as to what happened and how the officers got shot. They were tracking this individual. One officer shot 100 block of Oriental. The second officer was shot over here at the apartments, and then he fled into the apartment complex. And right now we're trying to make contact with him in hopes to bring him out. This individual is a very violent person. He was out on 2 bonds and currently is wanted on 3 warrants, which is why we were tracking him. And that's what we have right now. The 2 officers who were shot, one had 6 years on, one had 4 years on. And again, they are seriously injured right now. So, and that's all I have for you.
Chief, so right now, just to clarify, we're talking about 2 individuals, one driver and then the other one.
The person we were looking for walked out of the apartment, got into a vehicle with another individual driving. He was carrying a long gun with him. And shortly thereafter, realizing that he was being followed by police, he fired shots at the car. And the one officer was hit. He fled. Shortly thereafter, he carjacked a vehicle, fled here with police still in pursuit. And another officer was shot prior to him fleeing into the apartment building.
So right now, none of those 2 individuals has been detained. None of those.
None of them what?
None of those 2 individuals are under arrest. None of those. So
No. We are treating this now as a barricade situation, and we've set up a perimeter, and we will try to extract the individual from that apartment.
So they are barricaded the apartment?
Pardon?
They are barricaded the apartment?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the individuals, one person you're looking for?
Right now, one person we're looking for.
The driver believed to be in that apartment as well with the...
No. I don't know what happened to the driver once he carjacked the other vehicle.
Chief, given the violent nature of this individual and the fact that he's inside the complex, have you evacuated
Yes.
portions of the complex?
Yes.
Do we know the conditions of these 2 officers?
Pardon?
You said seriously injured. Do we know any other conditions of the officers?
You said that they were not injured?
You said they were seriously injured.
Seriously injured,
Do you
yes.
know any other conditions?
No.
That's all we got for now, guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chief William McManus there telling us the 2 officers who were shot, one was shot multiple times. This all began as police officers were trying to make an arrest. A man who 3 warrants are out, and this man came out of an apartment complex, got into a car with the driver, and took off, and then noticed the police officers, several officers in a car following him. The passenger had a long gun and fired at the police car. That's when one of the officers was injured.
Yes, and then after that initial shooting, which happened on the 100 block of Oriental, that suspect fled, carjacked another vehicle, and then fled into the Westward Apartments. Now, prior to going into that apartment complex, he hit a second officer, and that second officer, again, is in serious condition. That suspect tonight is still on the loose. As you heard the police chief mention there, he described him as a very violent person. He was out on 2 bonds and wanted on 3 warrants. And they're currently treating this as a barricaded situation. That explains the negotiations unit that we saw, or that Megan described earlier there on the scene. So again, a suspect on the loose who is accused of shooting 2 police officers. That suspect is believed to be in the area of the Westward Apartments.
Well, and the chief said they believe they know where he is in the apartments, and they have a perimeter set up. And they don't know what happened to the driver who was driving the shooter, but the driver, after they hijacked the car, the driver, they don't know where he is, but they do believe they know where the suspect is. In the Westward Apartments, right here, you're looking at the scene where they believe the suspect is holed up. They have a hostage negotiating team there. The chief said, a very dangerous individual holed up in the apartments there.
All right, we are going to continue to follow this story throughout the night. We at least have some answers to what we were, to the reports that we were receiving earlier today, but we're going to continue to follow this throughout the night. We have multiple teams spread throughout this area to bring you the very latest on KENS5.com and, of course, on KENS 5 News at 10 tonight.
We now return you to programming.